We have copies of agendas and resolutions on the counter next to where it says we vote first. If anyone's interested.
Page.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Hi, David. How are you? Robert, how are you? Good to see you, sir.
Do we have John White here?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Page Bailey.
Back, yeah. You have a branch or what's it? I was actually. We're recording. We're live.
Okay, notice is hereby given of a regular meeting of the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District on June 10th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the district office located at 1605 Whitaker Drive, Brunswick, Texas. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I want to ask for Mr. White to give the invocation. He's from Trinity Fellowship.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for your grace in our lives. We thank you for this city. We thank you for this county. And we are grateful for the roles and the privileges you've given us to serve here. As we assemble here tonight, God, this is your meeting. And we pray that as instruments in your hands to handle the affairs of this county and this city, we ask for your wisdom. We ask for your grace. We ask for your mercy. We thank you for Jesus, our Savior. And we ask that everything is done to your honor and to your glory. That's in his name. And
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Mr. White, do you have anything that you'd like to let us know about the community or your church or for what you'll have coming up in for kids or for fall events? Or just, we'd love to hear about how you can interact with some friends with. Sure. Okay.
Great. Yes, thank you. So I've been at our church of Trinity Fellowship over there by Polly Ranch for about a year and a half. We're doing some strategic planning initiatives. Some of the things that we have going on this summer is we have VBS all summer long on Sunday. And so if you have kids or grandkids that you'd like to bring to that, we see all summer long in order to cultivate Christ into the lives of kids and families there as well. Also, too, we are starting a new series this in 2 weeks on the book of Malachi. For those of you Bible scholars among us, you know that the book of Malachi is addressing spiritual apathy. The entire book is addressing the apathy that sometimes God's people face in day-to-day life. And so we're looking forward to that. I think it's very relevant for our country. And we are really reaching out to the daycares in our community with the gospel. We have several opportunities coming up this summer to reach kids by the invitation of the daycares and also parents to come in and to do vacation Bible studies with small children in several of the communities' daycares. And so we're very excited about that, especially whenever oftentimes they're welcoming us in instead of trying to keep us out. It's great to have people wanting us to come in and read the message of Jesus to kids of our community. Other than that, we meet at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning, right over there by Polly Ranch subdivision at 301 Leisure Lane here at Brunswick. So come by and see us.
Yeah, John's been a great neighbor down the street from Polly Ranch and for the community down there. And John, we appreciate all that you do down there. You're down the street from Brent, all kinds of people.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chris. Board of Directors report. Number 4, Mr. Gibson.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Johnson.
I know y'all gonna be shocked, but I can't think of anything to say that I haven't said already. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones.
We have a busy meeting ahead of us, so I'll be brief. Next Saturday is the Friendswood Community Prayer Breakfast. Seeing you immediately reminded of that. That's where we met, of course. If you have any questions, please reach out on Facebook or reach out to me personally.
Once again, yeah, John said it very nice at our last day of prayer. That's where I ran into him and had invited him to come up here. So once again, thank you. Today, what I just wanted to report on, we had a busy meeting with Harris County Flood Control this morning. We had a full room, almost as full as this, talking a multitude of issues concerning the 59 project, concerning ways forward with mitigation techniques that we would work with Harris County and Precinct 2 on. After the Harris County Flood Control meeting, we had a very nice meeting with Michelle Bechtel with the Gulf Coast Protection. And we had a very nice meeting with LAN and Lawrence Zimmerman, who has a bunch of experience with the Corps. It felt like, Paige, we were drinking from a fire hose, listening to Lars, and I think Scott and Randy felt the same way. It felt like a statistics class on an education on how you deal with the Corps and go about all their rules and procedures to get stuff done in this area, from the regulations, the way you must deal with them, as far as checking their boxes of grants, of their appropriations, of the proper funding ways to go through with the congressman, whether it be state, local, and federal. It was something. So I think we learned something. I think we have to go back through our notes. And Scott might want to add some stuff, and Paige might want to add some stuff to that later. We did talk about the overarching idea, and I want y'all to pay attention to the IDRT studies and what they could kick out in the timing of those late next spring into next summer, about the impact and the ways forward. And LAN and Lars, along with Harris County Flood Control, agreed to kind of be that corner seer, look around the corners of the problems and some of the environmental concerns, the engineering concerns. They talked a lot about the pump and the what was already in the plan and how we could upsize those and the problems that maybe the people of Seabrook would have with those. We talked about lake levels and sedimentations and a lot of things in IDRT 1 and 2, which is online. About how those might interact with a bigger picture of regional flooding mitigation, how we bring that together. And like I always say, herding the cats to get funding and appropriate, get the money and where we go from there. So maybe we can report on that as we consolidate our notes later and get more information from Harris County Flood Control and also from LAM and how we're going to do that. So it was nice to have the big hitters from Harris County Flood Control and some big engineering firms along to come down here and sit with us, and they brought their whole team with them. So that kind of capitalized today, capsized what went on today. But that said, that's all I have to report. So we'll go to number 5, citizens' comments. We will allow 5 minutes per person. The sign-up sheets are in the back if y'all haven't signed up yet.
See anyone on the list?
Nobody's on the list. Don Johnson, did you sign up to speak?
He's got a standing item.
Mr. Johnson, come on up.
Well, you just heard, there've been a lot of meetings this past week or so, and I'm not going to get into all those. I'm going to let the board members opine on that all that they want. I've been focusing mainly my time on the state legislature and what's going on up there, and I can't possibly encapsulate everything that's happened. There's been a lot of good legislation, there's been a lot of bad legislation, but at least it's at an end and they're trying to sort it all out now and figure out what we've got. One of the ones I did, I talked to Dr. Bonan's chief of staff today and tried to figure out what happened with the IDIC funding that they were asking for. And it sounds to me the confusion, some people say they didn't get any, some people say they did get some. It sounds like the confusion from what I heard today is that they got the authority to finish spending what they didn't spend in the last appropriation cycle. There was something like 200 and some odd billion last time. They spent about 100 billion of it, and they're going to be, in this legislative session, they put into the budget that they could continue spending the rest of that money that they didn't spend from the last session. And if you're not confused yet, You, you will be shortly. The other one, and probably Mark is a better person to talk about it today, is what they're gonna do with, property exemptions. They're extending property exemptions another, 40,000 for, everybody's exemption on their homestead, school homestead property. And, they're gonna bring up another 60,000 for seniors, disabled and military. So that they will be virtually off the property tax roll. The one thing good for y'all, not necessarily good for all the citizens, but good for y'all, is that these exemptions don't touch the water districts. They don't touch the cities. It only touches school district taxes, which that's creating an interesting problem out there now. In some subdivisions, the mud taxes are getting to be as much or more than the school taxes, which is really kind of unheard of. So I'm sure eventually the legislature is going to have to address that. And of course, you all want to be sure to get your 2 cents in those sessions when they start talking about that. Anyway, I won't go into any more of that, but if you have any questions, let me know. And I'm glad to research any items on the state level if you have any questions.
Thanks.
Item 6, presentations. A, we have a presentation by JSWA regarding the hazard mitigation plan update. Kristen Thatcher and Chase Ward.
I don't carry my laptop with me. They don't let you on the airplane anymore. Bring hardly anything. My purse is big enough.
We had several people flying today to give presentations, so I want to thank them all for, and you, Christopher.
You're most welcome. I love coming to this area.
We appreciate it.
Well, good evening. Good evening, everyone, members of the public, members of the board. My name is Kristen Thatcher, and I'm with JSWA and Associates, and my colleague Chase is on the line on Teams. We'd like to thank you for the opportunity to work with your very hardworking and dedicated staff. Paige has been, I don't have to tell you all, phenomenal to work with, dedicated, always there for us, helping us as she was learning, and she was on the job helping us nonstop. So thank you, Paige. Thank you for finding Paige, and we appreciate all of her efforts, Scott's efforts, Samantha's efforts. It's really been a group effort. So thank you very much. That's what we call the group that I mentioned. We're the mitigation planning committee. And when we do a hazard mitigation plan, we have 3 groups that we work with. So I wanted to just thank the mitigation planning committee, thank our stakeholders, which include neighboring cities, adjoining cities that in the planning area, different community members. So we wanted to thank them as well, and thank the public. You all were kind enough to come out to earlier meetings to provide for us some information for us that we're going to talk about, and then to really help drive our next request to you all, which is reviewing and providing comment on the draft hazard mitigation plan. So it's very important to continue to reach out and engage the public. So this presentation, well, it's for the board, it's driven for the public. So I just put that out there. So if I could just say next slide, or is there?
You just want to hang it up.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Next slide then. So just briefly, we're going to touch on, what the mission of the GCCDD, the district, I'll reference them as well as the survey results that we received and some information that we gleaned from the survey. And thank you all for doing the survey for us. We're then going to let you know that the draft is now ready for review, and some general notes about the draft and how the public can help us. So next slide, please.
On the wrong. One more.
Yes, pictures of natural hazards. We have way too many of them, unfortunately. The hazard mitigation plans are the opportunity for a community to look at the natural hazards that impact our area and then do risk assessments on those hazards, understanding where our vulnerabilities are, and then being able to come up with actions that can be short-term, long-term, medium-term, with some analysis behind those actions that we could eventually possibly apply for grants or working through CIP budgets, getting the things prioritized for that. So it goes in line very closely with the mission of the district, which is to enhance the safety and well-being of the community by proactively managing and improving your drainage systems and mitigating these risks. So they go hand in hand with flooding, which was our key natural hazard, as probably is no surprise to the public. So just as we always like to just remind folks we did these meetings over at the public library, so not everyone is as familiar with the district. We want to make sure that they know the district's mission and their purpose and the reason for working on this plan. The district is governed by a 5-member board and by the Texas Water Code. And we have over 20 square miles of planning area, of which that's large. What's even larger are the 80 miles of creeks, ditches, and bayous that have to be maintained. That is no small feat. As just a private homeowner, when the tiny little culvert that I call my mini culvert on my driveway, I'm constantly weeding that just to keep it clear. I can't imagine the amount of work and time that goes into making sure all of those drainage systems are maintained, cleared, and then eventually, possibly if there's applicant or funding available, increased in size to handle future risks from future flooding. So that's just a reminder on the importance of what the district does, and again, how it flows naturally into the hazard mitigation plan. Next slide, please. So this just shows you the footprint of the planning area. We have all of Friendswood and a portion of League City and also a portion of unincorporated Galveston County. Quite a bit of space. So some of the results from the survey. Next slide, please. Thank you. So one of the things we always like to make sure is, are we in every update, are we in line with where the community is in line with? So when we say a certain hazard, we profile hazards that happen in the area, and then we prioritize them, because where you want your actions to lay out is in those prioritized hazards or those ranked hazards. So in this case, we lined up pretty consistently survey-wise with where the mitigation planning committee came out and the stakeholders reinforced, which were our high areas of concern from natural hazards are things like drought and extreme heat, flooding. Lower, but not we have them, they're just lower in priority, are things like hailstorms. Medium would be winter storms. When they happen, they don't happen often, but when they do, as we all know from just a few years back, they're quite impactful. And wildfires, again, it's low, but they are possible. We omitted hazards where there really is no statistical ability for that hazard to be here. And important for a hazard mitigation plan is, if you have a hazard, you have to have actions to those hazards. So that's why you want to make sure that when you're profiling your hazard, you have hazards that are truly important to the area, so that we have actions for them. And then another area that we wanted to understand is, how concerned are you on hazards? I'm not going to click through everything. We will have these slides both in the hazard mitigation plan update as well as on the district's website. So we can probably click to the next one. This was one where we asked, in the last 5 years, have you had any damage from a natural hazard? And these were some of the damages that people had talked about: roof damage from ice, flooding of a house, during Harvey, they had mentioned. But flooding does happen outside of Harvey. Rain events in this area can sometimes cause those. Freezing, of pipes, and then roof damage from a tornado. Tornadoes are low for this area, but again, they are a hazard that can and does occur. So, and that homeowner, obviously indicated. We can click to the next slide. One of the areas we wanted to ask that, get an opportunity for the community to tell us if what are your priorities for seeing some work being done? And we wanted to know where are things in line. And so we didn't want to just say drainage. We wanted to give the full emergency management, infrastructure, utilities. Where do you want to see funding? If you had funding, if manna fell from heaven and we had all of these funds, where would you like to see it go? And we found that for support for drainage and retention projects, there, 72% of the folks that responded did say that they found that to be very important. So that's helpful in helping us again with understanding where the community's mindset is, and then potentially with developing actions. Next slide, please. And we do a lot of work with severe repetitive loss properties and repetitive loss properties. So we're always interested, even though it's not something that the jurisdiction, usually it's the your cities and your county that are NFIP, National Flood Insurance. That's what allows for you to get your flood insurance from FEMA at a discounted rate. But we wanted to still understand, do you know if your home is located in a FEMA designated floodplain? This area, very impressive. Most people knew and had flood insurance. Many times in many areas, we will get the answer of unsure. And so that tells a community, if they're unsure, we need to get the word out on where the floodplains are much more so that they can do what they need to do as a homeowner or as a community member, and we can do what we need to do as a member supporting the community. Next slide, please. And then we just had a few other questions wanting to understand if there are other types of projects. Some folks have come in and talked about elevation. We wanted to understand if there were interest in that, and just at a very high level, just so we could start a cursory discussion on that. And so we did receive a few responses that people would be possibly interested in that, or flood proofing of your home, but not a tremendous amount. What's amazing in this area too, when we see this area as opposed to other areas, is a lot of these new homes that are being built are building codes that are protecting the homes in a better way than some of we call them pre-firm homes, homes before the FEMA maps came out. So that's a positive sign. And some of the statistics that we're seeing is just on the less amount of claims that occur, because these homes aren't getting, they're not flooding as much. They may be in a floodplain, but the water's not getting in, where some of the pre-firm homes, the older homes, still face that difficulty. Next slide, please. And then during our meetings with the public, we always like to hear what are their concerns, what would they like to see, or just answering their questions. One of the areas is they want to understand, how are we coordinating the efforts of this plan with other plans? And that's a great question. One of the ways we do so is working through a stakeholder group, that interested community, other communities, having them be a part of our plan, in the hope that they would allow for us to be a part of their plan, where we start communications and dialogues together about important projects, important hazards, so that there can be, we're just opening the communication gap efforts up. There's also a general understanding on what a hazard mitigation plan versus an emergency management plan, also a very important document. But a hazard mitigation plan is really looking at the hazards and how do we mitigate them in what I call sunny day. So preparing, doing the analysis, getting studies done, understanding what kind of environmental concerns could be for us for a study, and then ultimately having applications to get the funds in for projects. So that's different than an emergency management plan, which is a process when a hazard occurs to be ready and to be prepared. That's your evacuation plans, that's your transportation plans, that's what you do with your pets. That also extremely important, just different from this plan. People brought up things like the flood gauge system that Harris County Flood Control has, and if there's a way to understand if there are places that would be good locations for gauges here. Also, what cities were included. So we talked to them about that planning area because it is unique that it's not just when we don't just service and support Friendswood. We have Lake City and unincorporated Galveston County. And then we talked about who the stakeholders were. And we also talked about these very, very important studies that the district is undertaking to help really improve the area and to forecast for future support. So clearing, the Clear Creek project, the IDRT study. So, and there's great information on the website for folks to really see the progress of those reports and hopefully see the value in what they're going to be doing with those studies. So next slide, please. So yay, the first draft is complete. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. The draft includes 5 sections and then several appendices. So we have the planning process. These are all requirements that FEMA requires in a plan. So there are the must-haves and the should-haves in the plan. So we address all of the must-haves, and we also have some just to tailor to the community. Some things that are unique, bless you, for an update as opposed to a plan, original plan, is that we talk about the changes that happen from development, and then also have a conversation on are they adverse, are they positive, is there no effect? Changes in priority both for the district as well as just changes in priorities for the community. And then integrating plans into other planning mechanisms. That's a real big one for FEMA during the updates. It's again, getting communities, getting folks together to really talk and see if there are ways from studies. So much is done out there, and when we silo it, we lose out on a lot of opportunities. So having these integrations are very important. Next slide, please. These were our hazards that we identified and we profiled. This is all in the plan. And this was how we determined the significance. And then from the significance, we looked at our vulnerabilities. For hazards that fit within our mission, flooding as an example, we focused on the community's assets, people, structure, systems, resources. For hazards that are important, happen in our community, but maybe in other jurisdictions' responsibility in supporting most of the assets of the community. We then look at it from how does it have an impact to our employees, our assets, our facilities, so that we have actions for those, so that we're keeping with our mission, but at the same time having a recognition that other natural hazards can impact our employees and our infrastructure. So we wanted to make sure we address those. So next slide, please. This is our goal that the board approved, and that sets forth a really nice way for us for our overall mitigation strategy. So everything should line up when we are looking at an action. Every time we look at an action, we come back to our goals and say, are we meeting the goals that were set forth for us, or is it outside of what we should be doing? So I won't read it for you, but this is our mitigation goal statement. Next slide, please. These were and this is an eyesore, and I apologize. 24 actions were identified in the plan, and every action then we take and do some specific information. That's a requirement for the plan update, but also is very helpful as when you're trying to move forward with making determinations on, do we take this action to the next step, or do we have to, is there funding restrictive? Is it implementing restrictive? So it gives you opportunities to kind of at a higher level look at the actions. It also allows for you, when you have an action, should you want to apply for a grant, once you have an approved plan, that's the first question in a FEMA application, an FMA or an HEGP. The second question is the action of which you would like funding for in your plan. So we try very hard to make sure that we set up for success for the potential for application failure. Next slide, please. And this, I sort of chart, these are those requirements. These are the shalls, as my mother would always say, it's not the could have or would like to have, it is they must have in a plan. So when we're asked the community and the stakeholders to review the plan, these are the things we must meet. So if you say, well, why do we have this in? It's probably because that was a requirement in it. But they make good sense and it's a nice process to follow. But I just wanted everyone to be able to see the requirements so that they have an understanding of what we're driving for in our plan. Next slide, please. So just a few review notes. It's a reminder that while the district, we've included hazards, that we have a very specific jurisdictional responsibility. And so it's written, the plan is written to that effect, as we mentioned earlier. We're focused on our actions that harm our drainage systems. Those tend to be things like always flooding and sometimes wind and things like that. So you'll see it if the plan is directed in that way. So I just wanted to bring that up so that when you're reading it, you have that in mind. And when you're looking at our actions, there are different actions. We are allowed to have as many actions as you want in the plan, and they can be actions like preparedness actions that we will never, you can always have them because this is our plan. This is the district's plan. This is the community's plan. But when we have mitigation actions, so when they're deciding on the two actions that we have to have per hazard, they have to fall into a mitigation action, which are comprised of local planning and regulations, structure and infrastructure projects, natural systems protections, and education and awareness. So those are the mitigation actions versus other types of actions. Next slide, please. And so how can you help? I know you're thinking, oh, she finally got there. Next slide, please. We have the draft on the district's website. You can download it. If you would like for us to send you a copy, you can contact them. We'll have the information and we're happy to send you a copy. It's rather large. If you're prefer to read it hard copy, we're happy to do that, but we're trying to drive folks to saving a few trees and PDF reading if at all possible. If you could review the draft, you could review one section, you could review all sections. We will happily take any questions that you may have. We will gratefully take any comments that you have, any changes that you suggest. We are hopeful that we recognize this is a big ask, but we also recognize that it's an important part of our process to getting our ability to hopefully be able to apply for some grants, FEMA grants. And we ask if you would be so kind as we're going to put it out for 30 days. We're going to ask if comments could come back on or before July 10th. And just to make it easy for when comments come in, we've just asked for a little bit of a naming convention for when you send it. You're very welcome to send an email and just give a general comment. If you had something like page 47, I have this question. That's fine. Absolutely. But if you have a great deal of comments, we just ask that if you just and save off those comments just with a name convention of GCCDD 2025 HMP, and then your initials and the date that you sent it so that we can just keep track of things. And if you wouldn't mind, if you could send your comments to Paige and me, this is a way we make sure one of us sees it. I log them in. We then, as an NPC, go through, review all comments received and incorporate them accordingly. And next slide, please. So this is just how do you get the draft. It's on the district's website. There's a little, one of the icons up at the top right says hazard mitigation. You'll click that on. Then it will take you to hazard mitigation plan. You click that on. I'm clicking for you all. Then you can download it. But again, if you would like for us to send a copy, we're more than happy to. As a reminder, we are asking for 30 days. So that would be on or before July 10th. And next slide. And with that, I thank you so much. We really appreciate all of your efforts. We appreciate all of your efforts. We really appreciate all of your efforts. So with that, I can take any questions that you may have.
Hey, Kristen,
Yes, sir.
thank you for working with Paige, Scott. So I appreciate it. If you could quickly expand, you can get involved, expand on why, the district, for the first time, we've had a director of procurement, somebody who goes after funding to help the public to augment y'all's tax dollars. Say why the hazard mitigation plan being expired, why it was so important for us to close this gap. And you can expand on that too, Paige.
Sure. Do you mind if I?
No,
So hazard mitigation plans expire after 5 years. Our last hazard mitigation plan was done in 2013, which means that it expired in 2018. And so for a number of years, even if the organization had wanted to go after grant funding or recovery funds, they would not have been able to, which is a shame because it makes my stomach hurt thinking about the tens of millions of dollars that I think the district and the citizens have missed out on because of a lack of preparation. And the hazard mitigation plan is part of that. And so thank you for your efforts and for helping us get up to speed so that we can serve our citizens.
thank you very much. And thank you. And then, yes, can't reiterate the importance. It's basically the first step to be able to having any ability to even apply. You don't even try and put an application in without having an HRGP plan in place. So once, and just for a process, once the one's out, receive your comments, we then submit them to the Texas Division of Emergency Management. They review it. They provide us with comments. We then get them back with their comments incorporated. They then submit it to FEMA. And one of the questions, I'll just preempt possible question is, well, how long does that take? And unfortunately, once TDM is very quick to respond, they usually will get comments back from TDM within 2 weeks. And then they're incorporated within 48 hours and submitted back to them. But when TDM then submits them to FEMA, it can take one jurisdiction. We just got them, we submitted them, or the jurisdiction, TDM submitted them December 27th. We received our comments May 27th. So that's why too, the long, we try to get it in as quickly as possible, but it's a hurry up and wait. We do ask for status, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's.
Which is also why going forward on the third year of a plan, we restart the process so that there's one active when the fifth one expires,
Correct.
or the plan expires in the fifth year, there's one behind it.
Correct. Yeah, so it's really year 4 you're submitting, so that by year 5 you never hit that expiration date.
And we sat with Tatum at the State House with Jim Berry in his office. So that was, and we got a lot of information from Sarah from Tatum. So that was good. Like Jim, you have any questions? Any email? Questions?
A lot of good information.
Thank you.
I read all 251 pages.
I'm glad you did. Thanks.
I always tell folks, if you're having difficulty sleeping one night, no, just kidding. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Johnson has a different remedy for that. Go ahead. Anyway, okay, thank you, Kristen. All right, number 7, discussion action items. A, approve or deny the due stock variance request to use a siphon. The development submit a request to use a siphon for the detention structure outfall due to a conflict with the existing AT&T duct bank during construction. The original plans were approved by the district on 10/26/21. Per the district's regulations, use of a siphon is a case-by-case approval. This project has provided an email from TxDOT noting no objection to the use of a siphon. It is the district's opinion that due to existing constraints, use of a siphon as proposed is the only feasible way, and the site may be developed, and it recommends approval. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Motion to discuss.
Second. All right, Scott, would you educate the board on what why they're using a siphon, the duct bank, and the remedy of the double barrel solution, and how they're upsizing their pipe to accomplish their outfall, and where it's going to outfall to in case there is a problem?
No problem. The project is working on constructing their detention pond, and they're also providing underground detention within the parking lot. They came into a conflict with the AT&T duct bank up here in 518's right away, which they're ultimately outfalling to TxDOT's storm sewer there. So here's the plan view. You can see this duct bank line. They found it during construction. Of course, they didn't have it during the design phase, and so they've requested to use a siphon. The original request wanted to use a 12-inch pipe as a siphon, and from my experience, that's not efficient even for low flows, just due to the the sloping of the pipe. Right, I know they have some protection upstream, but we typically want to see, due to head loss and everything in the siphon, you want to see some larger pipes. So they've agreed to install two 48-inch pipes side by side. So here's the duct bank. This is their original pipe, this hatched area. This is the top of the new pipe, of the two barrels of 48-inch pipe, and this is the bottom, the flow line of it. You'll have a manhole and a manhole. It'll basically hold water the entire time, right, until it gets flow into here, it pushes it, and then out falls into there.
Hey, Scott, do you think, we're talking about upsize from a 10-inch to two 48-inch double row pipes, but once again, it's going to hold water. There will be sedimentation. What is their requirement for inspections to make sure that those two pipes aren't, and talk about where it's going to outflow to if there is a problem? I mean, overflow to if there is a problem, but how often are they required to inspect that?
So they're going to inspect it quarterly, and the district, and report back to the district. And if there's any sediment in there, then obviously they need to clean it out. They give us that report as well. This is in TxDOT right away, so ultimately, I think we can go and inspect it if we need to. If we know there's an issue, you'll be able to see it. If there are ponds consistently holding water, you'll know that their outfall pipe is probably plugged. So we, have a big telltale sign that the siphons have become plugged, which I hope that doesn't happen with two 48-inch pipes, but it could. Can I answer your question?
Let's say there is an issue, potentially. Where does it overflow to?
So as part of the original design, the pond is going to extreme event sheet flow back to 518. So, and that's just a natural path, low area where everything's going to sheet flow, and then ultimately down to a tributary.
Do you anticipate with going from a 10-inch pipe, that's the two 48s, do you anticipate the sedimentation being so great to fill up both of those drainage pipes?
I don't foresee that being an issue, but there's always unforeseen circumstances, like a pipe seam or a connection breaks and they start getting infiltration in and it's taking soil with it, and it could definitely clog that cycle.
But we have two.
Right, we have two 4-foot diameter, so versus one 12-inch.
Well, over 10
It was a 12 or.
Okay.
If the quarterly inspection schedule isn't followed, what is our enforcement mechanism? And could we end up in a situation where, with like derelict ponds in the past, what if we end up owning this problem?
Yeah, it just ultimately this is in TxDOT right away. So, but we would, I mean, obviously we want it to function. So if there's an issue, then we have to address it. That situation arises, Jason. I'm sure that there's some civil kinds of nice compliance that could be assessed. It's like any other project that's around town.
I know it's outside of our.
Sure.
From past experiences, Jim, they're case by case, and there's not a lot of them through the district, I don't believe. But in this case, they've gone from a 12-inch to a two double barrel 48 inches. I know to satisfy Scott. I know he's being super conservative. I think, like he said, that something catastrophic like a double breakage, a complete failure in their pond where they just blew sediment through there. I mean, that could happen.
Yeah,
that could happen though with almost anything.
You know, water.
But I'd like to hear what you think based on your past about us sitting here and seeing some of these special cases come through. I mean, they obviously ran into a bank, which is going to cost them. It would end up costing $400,000 or $500,000 to probably relocate that.
I believe that's correct. Who's going? Go ahead.
It's been hold since, I think because of 2 years, costing $1,000 a day. Interest of $6 million project. There was a Verizon box we have to move, but was not in service, showed up. So 6 months it took a text dot to remove that, give us a permit. And then we run into the AT&T line, which is almost impossible to move. And project's it's been open about 1.5 years ago.
Well, it's not almost, it's not impossible, but it's very expensive.
Most prohibited.
And we understand that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The siphons are not new to the district.
No.
In fact, we own them,
Yes,
and it goes across American Canal and Box Six.
correct.
In my experience, we hadn't had any trouble with it. So with quarterly inspection on these, I don't really see a big issue.
I mean, the way Scott, the way it's gone to 2 0048s, I mean, Jim, I don't think we have that type of capacity over there on that one underneath the ditch.
Typically, your stipends underneath the water counter.
Yeah.
Grossly undersized.
Right.
Unfortunately.
And luckily, yeah, there hasn't been a problem, but, they're not super common. We have some. David, you
Just think, wouldn't it be cheaper just to put it's a box culvert? I think, I don't know, man, if the 48 inches silt up, I think we got bigger problems than that. I kind of better start building an arc. No, I don't have any issue with, Scott's okay with them.
any questions?
I'm satisfied with it.
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Scott. Okay, B, approve or deny the final plat for Legacy Street dedication phase 1. Development proposes a 5.463 acres into a variable road right of way for Legacy Drive in League City. Recommendation for approval by the district engineer. The plat meets district requirements for road right of way dedication. We have received a letter of note of objection from the city of League City. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Steve, approve or deny the final plat for Westland Ranch, section 5. Proposed development of 28.415 acre tract of land into 87 lots, 4 reserves, 4 blocks. After review, the district engineer finds it does meet the district requirements for final plat process. And we have received a letter of no objection from the city of League City. A motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. D, approve or deny the request to use pump detention at 1140 West FM 517. This is a 9.7 acre development, request to use pump stormwater detention. This site is unique. The reason it's unique, it's located in Albin's ETJ of Brazoria County, Galveston County, and Brazoria County's Conservation and Reclamation District number 3. The project's detention system will outfall to very shallow roadside ditch at 517. Will require a permit from TxDOT for the drainage tie-in. The outfall is also located within BCC and R3 and GCC and R3 Brazoria County in the city of Alvin. All allow the use of pumped stormwater detention. Only 0.70 of the 9.76 acres. I'll say that again. Only 0.70 of the 9.76 acres is within the Galveston County Consolidated Jurisdiction. If the request is granted, the project will still require a preliminary and a plat approval by the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
Second.
Okay, go ahead, Jason.
So the two things that I really thought about was one variance does not establish precedents. Obviously, we're against pump detention. And we have a really limited jurisdictional overlap here. So I don't see a real hang up with allowing this to proceed since all of the other entities who have much larger stake.
Yeah, Scott, what, I mean, I don't even see an issue with this either. We just have a sliver of it. It doesn't outfall to
You can
us
see
either.
it right here. So this light line here is the Galveston County, Missouri County line right here. So this portion of the pond is going to be in the district, right? but not a whole lot. And, yeah, the lift station will be here, the gravity outfall will be located along here. And it'll come to this existing roadside ditch.
I know existing roadside ditch is not our problem, but it's someone's. Is there any thought of widening or deepening there?
So this is 517, TxDOT has
The road you're expanding?
60-80% plans on putting a boulevard section in, so I'm sure eventually, but that could be next week, or it could be 20 years from now. Or 40, maybe 60.
Like it too, we can watch it. See it.
You watch this, see before you watch it.
We watch it, check it out. We watch it, check it out over the next, time. But, yeah, any more questions on it?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Cool. E, approve or deny the Texas General Land Office Coastal Public Land Easement, number CL 200900003. It's a lease agreement and an authorization for the executive director, Paige Bailey, to execute. Motion to approve. I second. All those in favor? Aye. It's an extension, so. All right, the consent agenda, item number 8. Approval of the April 8th, not April 8th. Is it?
We need to skip the consent agenda. There was a error that got.
Y'all always trying to hang me up. Like, y'all trying to mess me up on something. Approval of the May minutes, correct?
The May minutes and the June 10th bills. And I believe that's a scrivener's error, but I can also resubmit these for approval at a later date.
Since they're not listed.
Yes.
Okay. You want us to do
Yes.
that? Okay, so we'll table or
That's the
skip
conservative
A.
view, yes.
9, resolutions. Resolution 2025-10 is a resolution providing notice to League City of breach of interlocal agreement and terminate the said agreement. A motion to discuss?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Paige, you want to give us a rundown?
Yes, so we have co-jurisdiction over certain areas, including City of Friendswood and City of Lake City. So as jurisdictions with our own regulations on either end, it benefits all citizens, developers, community members, boards, everyone. If we can all work together to streamline processes for plan approval, for plat approval, in order to have good development. However, we've encountered some roadblocks as it comes to City of Lake City in regards to City of Lake City staff directing developers and property owners to exclude GCCDD's signature blocks and other requirements such as plat notes on plats, and to record those with the county without first going through GCCDD, which means that there are plats and plans that have been approved without running through our board, so we have no idea. Sometimes we find them on the back end and have to go back through and tell people, you need to run this plat through us and correct it and then refile it, so that it has all of the required regulations for both jurisdictions, because both jurisdictions have regulations and both jurisdictions need to have, all of their rules followed, just as we treat everybody else the same. And so that is one of the reasons why this interlocal agreement is being recommended for termination, so that hopefully a new agreement can be established. That is our goal. We want communication, we want cooperation. But if the terms of this current agreement are being used in a way to exclude GCCDD, we cannot continue to operate under those terms.
Hey, Scott, why don't you explain to the public what we're looking to have here put in front of us, like we get from the City of Friendswood?
Sure.
What we're looking, and compared to the City of
Yeah.
Friendswood and what we see with the City of Friendswood.
So the district and City of Friendswood always work really well together, where basically the plans are submitted concurrently, plats as well. And GCD will not approve or consider a final plan until the city issues a low no saying, hey, yeah, we reviewed it. We don't have any major objections. Y'all proceed. And then Friendswood typically will not give their final approval until they receive GCD signed final plans. So we've tried to follow that process with League City. They've been difficult on issuing low no's on plats. There's been an interlocal that was issued, or it was created a couple years ago. It's taken the district out of reviews for subdivisions or any kind of development that doesn't directly outfall to a district facility. We've recently had a lot of questions about the legacy development, where it's meeting, just happens to be meeting League City, Friendswood right there, West Ranch. Folks that has some concerns on the grading. We can't talk about it intelligently because we haven't seen the grading plan or drainage plan for it. We've approved the overall drainage impact analysis, and LJ's been really good about setting the plats for that development, but no construction plans. It's in the interlocal that we don't need to approve.
Who's holding that up?
Who's holding what up?
Who's not cooperating?
Oh, okay, well, so we have had discussions between our two entities. We've sent them legal memoranda, we've sent them case law, we've sent them our jurisdictions, regulations. We've sent them reasons why we need to cooperate and how it becomes more expensive for developers and for property owners if we don't cooperate. And what we've got is, we are still reviewing and we'll get back to you when we can. And that's been frustrating.
Hey, Robert, I'm starting to feel like Rodney Dangerfield, getting up.
How will canceling in the local agreement help us?
It will, well, one, it will no longer give League City the ammunition to say that they don't have to send plans to us. So that's number one. Number two, it sends a message saying, if you do not want to cooperate with us, it's gonna be harder for everyone. And we don't want that, but that seems to be the path that you've chosen at this exact moment. Now, let's please discuss this further and hope we can come to a resolution to work together for the citizens and for the community. But at this moment, we no longer want to stand by this interlocal agreement from 2023 that is being used against us.
Have we sent them notice, tell them that we plan on voiding the interlocal agreement if they don't live up to it?
Yes, the exhibit to this resolution is authorization for me to send that notice. And that notice is page 2, and has the wording of it. And that way I have the authority from you to send that notice of termination, and to have further discussions about it.
I'm talking about the threat
The
of
threat,
termination,
they know.
not the actual.
Yeah, they know.
And it's the 30-day notice. I think what's happened is Scott feels like he's flying blind on some of these questions we're getting from citizens and what they're asking us. He doesn't feel like he has the proper information to even bring to the board. I mean, in all fairness, I mean, listen, League City is new to having a drainage district and they're developing areas. They don't have one. So this is new. And, as you see in most instances, in a lot of instances, we have worked, we're not gonna step out and do anything the city of Friendswood has a problem with. We're gonna pause and we're gonna make sure the city of Friendswood has everything worked out and give them complete deference when they have an issue. And we hope the same thing occurs. And 99% of the time it does. And we work very, very closely with them without any issues, for the most part. And all we're doing is continuing the same exact policies and procedures, same criteria manual, everything. It's all in interlocal. But Scott is not receiving the same information and being able to give to the board. We're not signing the plats. We're not having the ability to operate the same way, Jim. And we've gone back and forth on it.
And my concern is that League City is at only 60% built out. And their population's set to double in the next 10 to 20 years. And so that is an extreme amount of development that on all entities, whether that's League City, whether that's our entity, have to be clear that that development is good development. We want great development. We want more citizens. We want this area to flourish. I'm raising my children in this area, and so I want generations to come to be here without flooding. And so it's heartbreaking that the other jurisdictions do not want to cooperate on the same terms.
Okay, let's assume we terminate it.
Yes, sir.
Is the developer gonna know to come to us?
We will be extremely kind to all developers who are not aware of the change, and that when they come to us and say, hey, League City didn't tell us that we need to come to you, we say, okay, let's fix it. Let's work together to get you onto the agenda, is to do what we need to do in order to continue forward so that the regulations are clear, the path is clear, the communication is clear.
Hey, Scott, how will you make sure with your relationship with these developers and engineers that
I'll reach out to the engineers for Legacy and Westland Ranch and let them know.
but tell me what you always tell me, which is when you're doing a project, what you research, you're doing something for a client and you're doing something in the city of Sugar Land, for example. What are you going to do to make sure that you're complying with all statutes, drainage districts, cities? What should be occurring anyway by a reasonable
So you-
developer and engineer?
Yeah, obviously you need to review their design criteria manual and always highly recommend or really try to have a pre-development meeting. Friendswood offers that. They're really good at Pearland. Most cities understand that value in that. So you reach out and you do that. And right in the district's criteria manual does recommend that you have a pre-development meeting before you start a project. So these larger developments, they know the dog and pony show. They'll be aware of it, especially if we reach out to them and let their engineers know that they're gonna have to get all the construction plans, but approved by the district. I don't think we'll have a problem with it.
And Jeff, you're an engineer. These guys are engineers, these development companies. They're not dumb people. Like I said, even in pilots, you review operate handbooks, you change airplanes, air speeds, stop go distances, your flight load. You know how things operate. This is not their first rodeo. And the developers out there are pretty sophisticated. And I think we've had enough back and forth. It's a very seamless and easy process. Our criteria manual is published online. Our jurisdiction is clear as bell. This is not some hidden information, cloak and dagger. This has been, we've been pretty.
What's Matt Brown say about it?
I wish Matt was here. I was looking for him.
Me too.
Yeah.
Have you talked to him, Scott?
Matt
It's really
stopped
easier
answering my
to do.
questions too.
Pardon?
Matt stopped answering my questions too. He said, well, that's probably something that you need to take up with one of the directors or Gov.
He's been hamstrung.
It's really easier
He's limited.
to do it ahead of time and follow the rules than it is to pile up a bunch of fill and have to deal with it later. Just saying. So. Okay.
Well, Scott's been he's been, just to be specific, Scott, you've been at, just want to be specific, one thing you asked about.
Just be specific. Well, Randy, we had an issue with box ditch, right, where they were doing construction on it. And then another, because some citizen concerns after a couple of meetings about the fill that's being placed on backside of West Ranch. Said we don't have the construction plans. We have to try to go through Lake City.
Box ditch was dammed off in 5 different places. And we had no idea what they were going to do it. It seemed that they were doing the construction backwards a little bit, but we had no idea how they were doing it. It's been fixed since. They've widened it and it's a lot bigger, but at the time we just had no idea why it was being done like that. And they were pumping it at the time, but there was a rain event coming and we wanted I personally wanted the dams to be gone and we just didn't get any answers. I called Matt several times and didn't get any answers on it. So.
And like I said, cities have a lot going on. That's why, Scott Elmer's sitting right here for 2 or 3 hours today. We speak each other's language. They deal with Harris County flood control, flooding and drainage, and that's what I'm concerned about. And he's always so receptive. So, and I understand the cities have lots going on, but we have been very, very communicated with them on trying just to get, Scott keeps telling me he's flying blind on this. He doesn't know what he's saying. And he'll say, hey, we're out there looking at that field. We don't know what's going on. They won't talk to us. Citizens are calling them. It's not the best situation. And when, it's not the best to be flying blind and not being aware of what's going on, seeing the paper from our district engineer to review it and give us an opinion and a recommendation on how to vote. That's not the best way to operate.
I think if you're developers, certainly I don't think they'd want to. I think they'd want to do it the right way, proceed the right way. So that might be the most expedient thing. Let those guys know. Maybe let the Chamber of Commerce
know. Measures like this and other assertions of jurisdictional authority will eventually help disabuse people of the notion that standards they don't want to develop under optional. Agreements, what is law, what is policy, will be enforced.
How long has this been going on?
2023 is when the previous board.
So you mean the issues?
Issues.
We're dealing with it a little bit.
Yeah.
I know we
At
had
least.
a hard time getting a letter of no objection.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went through that.
That got
We
resolved.
went with that for a while.
Kind of.
We're still uncovering the depth of what was directed to go around GCCDD.
The only hangup is this just adding more decisiveness to the situation instead of helping?
Yeah, nothing's changed. The thing about it, Jim, is since we've been on the boards, nothing's changed. We haven't changed anything, the criteria or any procedure. There's nothing changed. What's changed is honestly, is you have a city who's expanding in Western Lake City who hasn't had a drainage district to even deal with. I mean, nothing's changed. It works very easily. There's not much to it. I don't even know if Scott's gonna even have probably many objections to stuff that's going on. And there are things like that, for example, or just the ability to see it so you can answer questions with knowledge to the citizens and report it back to the board. So we don't get hammered by things that we don't know of. It's hard to answer questions when you don't know because you don't have it on paper. Your district engineer hasn't seen it. I mean, that's like not telling me how much fuel I have for a plane flight. We're about to head to San Francisco and how much fuel we have, Jim? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, what are you pumping there? I don't know. I'm not really sure. Okay, well, we're not going.
Well, what
We're not going. How about that?
surprises me as well is that I was part of City of Lake City's legal counsel for 5 years. And so I have a personal and professional relationship with all of the senior staff at the city, including the city manager, the city attorney, all of the directors, and I'm basically getting no information at the moment, which just really shocks me.
Something not right.
Yep. Motion. Motion of. Second. All those in favor? Aye. We're going to skip 11, the resolution, because of it does not apply. It's not applicable anymore. We're going to go to resolution 2025-12 is a resolution authorizing approval of a contract for delinquent tax collection services with Lineberger, Goggin, Blair and Sampson, LLP.
They are here.
Would you like to say anything? You're here. Come on up.
I said Mark because I wasn't going to butcher your last name.
That's okay, sir. I didn't learn until the 8th grade. I'll be brief. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of the district. So we very much appreciate the opportunity and we will pursue everything with the diligence that you expect. Thank you for that. As always, available to answer any questions that you might have.
Already did an excellent presentation previously, so
Do I have a motion?
motion approved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you very much.
Thank you both for coming.
If you appreciate you.
Thanks for that excellent presentation last time. I missed it. It was good. You saw it right. All right, number 10, discussion and reports from the staff members. Paige.
So I have a couple of updates for y'all. The first one, FISD's tax collection matter. So our current tax collection is still being done through FISD. August 1st, with the new tax year, will be collected by the county's office with Cheryl Johnson. The FISD had a technological issue last week where while their staff guy, their IT guy was on vacation, somehow he misunderstood a request from Cheryl Johnson's office in setup, and all of our account information got deleted off their system. And so people were coming in to pay delinquent tax bills, and they could not do it. And so FISD had to wait over 5 days for their singular IT guy to come back to correct the issue, reload our files so that they can continue collecting our taxes until the end of their period and beginning August 1st. And so, yes, and so we were getting calls here about, hey, I want to pay my tax bill. I know that y'all are my taxing entity. And we're saying, I'm so sorry for this inconvenience. Please report to FISD. They can either estimate it and then refund you the overpayment, or if you underpay, they'll send you a notice, and no one's going to be penalized for this issue. But in case anyone's, I know that rest of you got a couple calls about that as well, about this issue, but this is an update that it's been corrected and that everybody's very clear that FISD is collecting through the end until August. And when that turns over.
Does Cheryl have everything she needs?
Yes, she's on top of this, and I really appreciate both her and her staff. I heard from Cheryl Johnson about this before I heard from FISD, which really is not my favorite.
You hear from me first, then Cheryl Johnson, then FISD.
I was calling Cheryl. I was on the phone with Cheryl when he texted me to call Cheryl, and I'm like, I'm on it. And then I had to reach out to FISD and say, what is happening? What's the order of fixing this? How quickly is it get done? And was a little disappointed by the fact that it had been happening for several hours before I was, made aware of the game plan. Second issue, or not issue, but really exciting, staffing update. Melissa Rebeck will be coming in as our district secretary and accounting specialist this month, June 23rd. And so she's going to be the heavy lift of a lot of the accounting matters of our district. She's got multiple math degrees, bookkeeping experience for multi-location industries, and we're really excited to have her. So she'll be starting here on the 23rd. Thirdly, field superintendent report. I'm going to pass it on to Randy in just a minute, but first I want to touch on item D, board member invitations. At your desks, we were delivered individual invitations to each of you from City of Friendswood to join in on the 4th of July festivities. You have options to the parade, to the day events, to the evening fireworks, and they ask that you RSVP if you are available so that they can specially plan for you. But this, I wanted to say thank you to Friendswood for that invitation. And then Randy.
Okay, I'll give you my slideshow. This is Cowards Creek at Stevenson Park. We made sure that it was mowed and taken care of for Memorial Day weekend. This is right behind Stevens Park, in between Old Park and Stevens Park. I'm on the bridge that connects the two there. This is just a shot down the other side. It's very important, especially when we don't have big projects going on, is to make sure that all our waterways are we like to say like a golf course, but mowed low, all the debris taken out of it, everything in order so flow can happen. I like this area just because you can take a big long shot of the winding creek and the mowing. This is our contractor Proscape that's doing this. Very nice.
Thank you, Proscape.
Yes, thank you, Proscape. This is box ditch. This is something that you guys will probably never see. It's something that had been taken, the brush had been taken over. You look on the left, you can see how overgrown it is. I got there late, so I didn't get to take the picture. The right-hand side did look like that also. We had Proscape come in and so we can take this back over so we can mow into the ditch. We've mowed all of this out now, but this is what it looked like kind of before we started. That's the clearing of it and the clearing of it on the other side. So now that we have done that, we're able to get in and mow in the ditch so we can have everything go through it. This here is a Chigger Creek bank repair that we did. If you can see in the distance there, that's where the bank has fallen in. There's a tree right in the middle of it that has fallen into the creek. So this is just a little ramp that the excavator was building in. That's Chigger Creek, the water there. This is just the beginning of the process of fixing that bank. This is just another picture of the bank that has fallen. You can see that it's fallen to the roots from the trees that are hanging out there. This is actually the fixing of it. The excavator, we had to put two 24-inch steel pipes in the creek. We built a bridge basically across the creek the excavator work, because you can see obviously in the properties above, these are folks' backyards. You can see how close the trees on the right and right behind the excavator are to that piece there. So they had to work from the creek and dig this out. And I've taken pictures to show how we do fix this. If you see the white rock on the left there, we call that riprap. It's basically cement chunks. They go in. I'm standing in the bottom of it just to see how deep it was, how much of the bank had fallen off. We dig what's called a key ditch. The creek is right to the right there. We dig this ditch. We put that riffraff in there, compacted in, put new mud over it, so it's compacted in, so it won't fail. Hopefully, in my lifetime. That's the riffraff that we're putting in that will compact it into that key ditch that I just showed. This is the dozer that's going over. That was the bank that was being fixed. We've compacted. Now he's going in to grade it, and that's the final product. It looks black. That is just hydro mulch that was put on in a couple of layers. It just was super dark green, almost looks black.
So riprap the entire length of that, or?
The majority, yes. All the length of that riprap is in the bottom underneath there. You can see those trees I was pointing out. The trees obviously are still there. We did it up to those trees. Didn't mess with any of the grass in those backyards. DC as our contractor did a great job.
Yeah, they did a great. This kind of behind HEB going back.
Yeah, it's behind. Is it Hope Church, the Lutheran church there?
Yeah, Hunters Creek.
Hunters Creek.
Yeah. Right behind there.
And we're actually going to slope this side. We own all the property on the other side from this. So we're going to slope this area right here to take some of the strength of the water hitting that there. So we're in the process of doing that. So on the next one, I'll have some pictures of what the total thing looks like.
What's that cost? Off the top of your head.
The cost for the bank repair is about 180.
And how many feet is that?
That was, I believe it was 180 feet. I think it was somewhere around there, 150.
It was close to 200 feet. It was getting there.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhere right around there.
Bulkhead.
They did a good job. They did a really good job on that part because that part we had to access it from the other side. We don't have access from.
Yeah, we don't have any access.
We come by the church all the way around and then dip down underneath it and got there.
Where's the property line along the backyard there?
Slope.
Should be that fence right there, Dave. See that wrought iron fence? They're running parallel to the creek.
Two property lines.
Yeah.
So one's property line of the homeowner association, one of them's homeowner's property line.
So you get HOA easement almost to the slope, essentially,
Basically to the slope.
because that's why the trees are still allowed to be there. That's
Yeah, we can go the other side.
This is another project that we're doing for the El Dorado subdivision. We're cleaning out some ditches. The city is also helping us grading a lot of the city ditches also that they're going to be doing the next couple of weeks. But this is at the Lundy Lane. This is at the end of Lundy Lane. This is a ditch that goes out to Box and Lundy Ditch. This is actually Box Ditch here. But I'm standing on the street taking a picture down the creek. So that's what it looked like before. That's what it looks like now. So we were able to, with Proscape's help, get in there and clear all of that mess out. The homeowner there is letting us come in and have some room there on the side to be able to drive vehicles. We're going to slope this side a little bit more. So the water can continue to get out.
Because Randy, Scott, that's a flat pitch there. There's not much pitch there.
Yeah, there's not, in that ditch, obviously it's a man-made ditch. I don't think no one at the district has ever done anything with it, never mowed down it. There was trees. I mean, you could see in that picture right before, there was 2 trees that were growing right in the middle of it
And
clear up.
if I may, this is a project that we're doing contemporaneously with City of Friendswood
Absolutely.
as they are regrading some of the property, the neighborhood ditches And then as we add flowing capacity to our end, they can also add flowing capacity to their end. And so it's a dual jurisdiction effort to take care of the citizens.
So Michael, and we've been working with Hill and all them, and like I said, simultaneously, Randy is working on the ditches, and Heather, and they're working on the front end, and we're solving some good issues over there on the Dixon Bayou side, Lundy Way for these people. So they're very happy with the city and us working on that stuff over there. Because it's flat pitched, and they've had some problems with it, some friction before they just
We're
hold
on
stuff.
Lundy Lane, very end of Lundy, very end of Lundy Lane.
We should go out there, Roberts, and they're
And this is a big, we started here, obviously we're working with the city, but the city wanted us to start at the back end to open it up. So when they grade their ditches, water starts conveying down, we can get it all going through. So we started at the end and working our way back up.
We're gonna clean the bottom out too.
We're gonna dig this out even more. We're gonna lay the side back here. This side goes up to a fence that's not our property. So.
Mine, are y'all working your
That
your little mini over there to dig it out, or are y'all working that?
Yeah, they've been helping us work that, yes. We're gonna dig this out.
Okay.
Yeah, we're digging this out.
Okay.
Because we can get the equipment in this gentleman, Mr. Barber's yard.
I know sometimes you use as many to get back.
We're gonna use as many out there on something else, but
Okay.
it's actually getting into the neighborhood.
Yeah.
This is the same ditch, just I'm on the other end. You can see, how much is cleared out. You can see that this is where box ditch comes through there, and you can see there's 4 big, 60-inch pipes that come through there. So, this is another clearing project that we're doing. This is Rancho Viejo. This is a ditch, a drainage ditch that's behind West Rancho Viejo homes that you can see how obviously thick it had been. Before I got here, there was a reason why they quit mowing it. I'm not sure why, but I wanted to take it back over so we could get in and clean it up. So that's what it looked like on one way. This is what it looked like on the other way. The trees and everything, that's the middle of the ditch there. This is just a little bit further down, just so you can kind of see but this is what it looks like now. That's looking down one way. That's looking down the other way.
You didn't even knock down the bridge.
Yeah.
No, we went around all the bridges. We didn't take any trees out. We just took all the brush out.
Surgery.
Surgery, there was some homeowners on, especially these trees that you see hanging down on the right. They didn't want the trees touched, so we stayed away from their trees. But we just wanted to get back in there so we could mow it and get things moving through there. This is just at the other end, looking back down, how it's been.
See that, Larry? You'll have hope. You'll have hope.
So we will.
Is that an actual?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Oh, that's the.
Okay.
80 foot back there.
80 foot east.
That's drain Rancho Viejo. That's not.
Sorry?
There is a drainage in the back of Rancho Viejo. That's not.
Is it the west or the west side? Yes, correct.
Is that all you have?
That's all I have. Yes, that's everything that I have.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Randy. That's appreciated. You talked, hey, thank y'all. I've had Paige up since 7 o'clock in the morning these last 2 days. Pretty much, 10, 12 hours. And I know you've been here, ran the fort when we've been busy. And I know, Scott, you've been here a bunch the last 2 days. Hard, but I know y'all work hard all the time, and thank y'all very much. I've heard of other people, but it's appreciated. I look forward to Melissa really battening down the hatches on helping you executively and going forward. So I appreciate it. District, we have the City of Friends reports.
I don't have anything.
District engineer. Clearview.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Nope. These are.
Thought I wasn't clear. Come on.
I forgot, Scott. I just thanked you and I just skipped you. See?
It's okay. I wasn't gonna be mad.
It's because I've been seeing you so much.
You don't miss me this.
Yeah, I like your red stick shirt.
All right.
Robert likes it because it's Texas Tech color, but that's not why I like it.
It's a Lamar Carter color.
Yeah, that's true.
No black on there.
All right, so Clearview, we're making some good progress. The survey is officially completed on that. Geotech is working on the report, and then Liz and her crew at 5E, we met with them last week, and they're going to have a couple of layouts next week, and by next Thursday, I believe, is our scheduled meeting, coming up with some 30,000 foot view of more benching or an offline pond, the two options there that we're gonna look at. So, what our plan is to have a conceptual technical memo, looking at the two options, and then the board will make a decision on how to proceed from there. That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
Next month.
That's the plan, yes, sir. There's no hiccups, Jim.
Don't have any.
And Liz, do you have anything to add or anything?
No, I think you covered it for the most part. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Jim?
Thank you for being
She's
here.
right there. Get her where you can.
I just wanted, hurry up.
We'll do our best there.
Yeah, they had a lot to do too with, they got the overall model from Harris County Flood Control, and they basically had to trim it down, and it takes a lot to do that. I think
It's a big effort to trim it down, but it's worth it in the long run because those models take like 2 to 4 hours to run each storm event. And we got to make sure they all work. So if we take our time at the beginning to kind of, isolate this area in the model, then they'll run in minutes instead, and we can play with the alternatives quicker and make sure we get y'all an answer. So the upfront efforts will be worth it in the end, I promise.
they're not just looking at the 100-year, right? They're doing the 5 to 25, the 50, and the 100. So you've got 4 storm events for each scenario they're looking at. You start adding.
Yeah, that area is real deep in the floodway, and so we wanted to make sure we ran all those events because sometimes when it's that deep, you don't see the benefits necessarily in a really big event, but you'll see it in a more frequent event. And so you would have benefits, more often, but for smaller storms. And so we wanted to make sure that we would be able to see all of that.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, do y'all have other questions on that?
Deepwood, do you wanna, or I can?
Go ahead.
Okay, so we entered into an local agreement regarding the Deepwood properties. However, City of Friendswood has some additional properties that they are doing some clearing out on, and it is contemplated in the next 2 months, and hopefully a month, they want to clear them before we add them to the interlocal agreement. So hopefully in the next 2-ish months, we'll have an amendment before y'all and the city to add those properties to our interlocal agreement so that we're not having to study properties and then study them again, and expend extra funds so we can see it as a complete picture. And so we're very excited to add additional properties to our projects to create more space for flood mitigation. Do you have anything to add to that? I know you just gave an update to that.
Still, that could be, it's always been able to be a larger project.
Yes.
And it's better, we both own property in there. It's better that we combine.
Just like
That's a significant project.
It-
Yes.
Yeah. I need to
I
move.
agree. I'd love to see it all combined.
Yes. And then item, do you have anything to add to that as well?
I don't.
Okay, and then item C, Frenchman Creek, we have a meeting that we are setting up with the city next week to discuss the future of that site. It's only about 5 acres, is that correct? So it's a hard property to do a flood mitigation project on. I call it a capital P project with, but we have identified it as a really great location for an emergency management boat launch and barge launch so that we can do large scale desnagging and clearing of Clear Creek and other ways that we can get into different floodways to do desnagging, to clear obstructions, and for the city, the county, the state, whoever needs to use it for emergency services, to be able to launch boats as needed, so that they can have access to better serve citizens.
So let me
So we're
add,
really excited
so
about that.
Michael and Robert on this, this is our barge is coming. So we don't have to launch it so far with Captain Randy upstream. We can launch that barge at an emergency boat ramp that is not only used for flood control and mitigation. The city of Friendswood, full access for emergency services, the police department, Stan, the fire department, the state, the feds, the county, whoever needs to use it for any type of emergency closer into Friendswood, which will serve the citizens. But for flood control mitigation, we can run that barge as many times we want up and down the creek to do what we need to do with the IDRT study, with the identification of the sedimentation. That might be a really useful tool for core samples and everything.
The other let in is for.
If you-
Go on Ironwood Street, go
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. And we thought about that, but
That's fine.
we thought, but it's HOA stuff and we thought, hey,
Yeah.
this is land that we're already interlocal with y'all. And I think everybody,
We've always, there's always been a need for an improvement getting in the creek route.
and it's gonna be, hey, it's gonna be good.
For us, for to get up into Harris County, to get down into Leaf City, it's gonna be really useful overall.
That's a neat idea.
Okay, well, we're glad to have y'all's support on that. Like I said, fire, police, I think everybody's pretty gigged on that one. Go ahead, Jim.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Weren't we going to review at some point in time the cost for regional detention?
Yes.
Okay.
We have some additional information and I would love to present it to you in an executive session because there's some further action items from that. And so, yes. But
The
maybe
one
not.
data point I have is last year, City of Friendswood had a contract for 5 acres.
Mhm.
It's 16,000 acre foot.
Okay,
So that's a data point.
we'll talk about
And
it.
that's,
We're at 44,000 an acre foot.
I know it, that's too cheap.
Jason had a question for you.
Or this isn't the last iteration of the interlocal on the deep woods, so I don't.
If you want to say that, you can, but there will be another iteration.
But it's more of a point of clarity thing on 3.05 where it says, prior to construction and any subsequent maintenance of the improvements, the district shall obtain payment and performance bonds and the full amount of the contract price in accordance with state law.
Yes.
So in reading that, so it's state law because we're co-jurisdictional municipality. But I remember when Mr. Ross was running and projects you had done in other parts of the state, bonds of this nature were required.
Yes.
But I've also seen through attending city council meetings that not all projects within require the same thing. So is it only because of what the entity that we are? Or is there a reason for the differentiation?
I can't speak for other entities or other projects, but this one specifically, even if it were not in the agreement, I would require it because I strictly follow both procurement and the state guidelines as far as bonding and protecting the entity's interests in case something were to go wrong. Because there is always the chance that you are in the middle of construction, then for some reason a contractor defaults or goes bankrupt, shuts doors overnight. What do you do with this half-done project? There might be equipment laying around and subcontractors, and you have to be able to protect your entity's interests no matter what happens. So I'm in favor of that, not necessarily just because it's in the contract, but because we would follow it anyway.
Just a little clarification. Thank you.
Thank you all again. Again, everybody, you got second shot.
I really don't have any updates for drainage or anything like that. So
Okay.
I'm good tonight.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks. All right, nobody's here from League City. Hey, thank everybody for attending. We really appreciate it. And we are going to convene into executive session. The board of directors will conduct a closed meeting in order to seek the advice of its attorney about pending contemplation litigation. Am I reading the right one? Paige, am I reading the right one?
It is, so the board of directors will conduct a closed meeting in order to seek the advice of its attorney about pending contemplated litigation, settlement offers,
For any matter in which the duty of the
Yes, sir.
attorney of the district under the disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meetings Act for Texas Government Code 551-071 for legal issues concerning any item listed on today's posted agenda. Government Code 552.072 deliberations about the purchase, exchange, or lease, or value of real property. 551.074 personnel matters, closed meetings. This chapter does not require a government body to conduct an open meeting to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. Discussion regarding attorney is conducted to be legal taxes and evaluation of all employees, annual review of the CEO, the COO, administrative manager, field superintendent, and field staff, and we will reconvene after this is over with. Thank y'all.
Hey, Tim, have y'all,